Your sound is on. I just heard you.
Ah, excellent. Okay, then let's start. So, hi everyone, and welcome to the Harmonica Masters Workshops Zoom event 2020. It's a real pity that we can't meet in person this year, but we really hope that this meeting will provide some consolation to our loyal friends and supporters. It's really great that our wonderful team of instructors has come together here from their homes all over the world to make this possible. But before I introduce them and we get started, I'd like to bring you up to date on our present situation and let you know how we hope to proceed in future. I founded the Harmonica Masters Workshops in 2003 in cooperation with the town of Trossingen, and the workshops have taken place there for 3 years out of 4 ever since then. Hona has always been our sponsor and offered logistical support. In recent years, the Harmonica Masters Workshops have been presented by the Hona Conservatory, which is, despite the name, an independent music school. Since 2012, they have been ably organised by Michaela Kitska at the Conservatory, and I'd really like to take this opportunity to thank Michaela for her hard work and dedication while successfully running this event over the past 8 years. Thank you, Michaela. Great that you can be with us this evening. In 2019, the Hona Conservatory underwent a change of management, and literally 2 hours before the start of last year's Harmonica Masters Workshops, I learned that the Conservatory would not be presenting our event again in future. So I'm very relieved that the Hona company did not hesitate to step up and has agreed to take on the organisation and implementation of our event. So I'd like to thank Hona's marketing manager, Christian Dane, for his support and for recognising the value of the Harmonica Masters to our community. Today's meeting wouldn't be possible without the hard work of the Hona Harmonica product management team, and I would like to thank Ines Weber and Gerhard Müller for providing the technical and logistical support that we needed to make this happen. Due to the changes at the Conservatory, their teaching premises will not be available at this time of year in future. So the Harmonica Masters Workshops will be returning to Trossingen in the flesh during the Whitsun holidays in 2022 and will be running from the 15th to the 19th of June 2022. Assuming that they're all available, we will be presenting the same team of instructors as this year. So the Harmonica Masters won't be taking place in 2021, but it will be taking place in 2022. Every 4 years, Trossingen hosts the World Harmonica Festival, and we're currently planning on putting on this event from November 2nd or 3rd until November the 7th, 2021, assuming that the pandemic situation permits us to do so. Though a major part of the event is taken up by harmonica contests, competitions, this time we intend to present 1 or 2 full days of diatonic harmonica workshops during the festival, featuring some of our Harmonica Masters instructors for those of you who don't want to wait until 2022. So in order to fill you in on some more information about the World Harmonica Festival, I'd like to pass the microphone to World Harmonica Festival Director Gerhard Müller, who I believe is going to say a few words about it. Gerhard, would you like to take the microphone?
Well, yeah, so thanks a lot, Steve, for the introduction. And yes, welcome to everybody who would show up at this Harmonica Masters Zoom event. Well, for Hona at least, it is important that we stay in contact with our customers, musicians, players, harmonica teachers, lovers, and fans. Even in these difficult times, of course, we immediately supported the idea to hold this online harmonica event. So Steve, many thanks to you and all the instructors who really agreed to support this event. Also big thanks, of course, to Michaela in the past, and then Ines and also Claudia, who, they took over the organization of this event in advance. So, and for the World Harmonica Festival next year, of course, we hope that we can hold the event in the same run like the past years. Of course, it will be difficult, but we have to see how the pandemic situation will go on. So I hope we can do it in beginning of November. So I trust in you. I hope you all will show up at the World Harmonica Festival directly in Trossingen with a really great supporting program. So in the end, I hope you enjoy now the next 3 hours together with us. And yes, stay in contact, and yes, stay cool and safe and stay healthy. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Gerhard. So yeah, I hope that works out. Hope that we'll see some of you in Trossingen in 2021. But now I'd like to get started by introducing our illustrious panel of experts. We'll be running this show as a sort of question and answer session, which will intersperse with musical contributions from the individual instructors. We would ask you to post any questions you want to ask to the chat, and Ines and Gerhard will be keeping an eye on that, moderating the input and selecting questions for us to discuss, because there's so many people out there that we can't really do it as a sort of free-for-all. I hope that you're all right with that. Also, sorry if people are wondering why their videos have been turned off. Basically, otherwise we're going to have several hundred people on video, and this is going to get a bit confusing. So if you want to ask any questions of our panel, then please don't hesitate to start posting them. What we're going to be doing is roughly 10-minute musical blocks and then a quarter of an hour of Q&A in between those blocks. So I hope we'll have time to cover quite a lot of ground. But now, would you please welcome from Sweden, Mr. Joel Andersson, Hona affiliated harmonica customizer and expert for Irish music on the harmonica. Hi, Joel.
Thank you, Steve.
From San Jose, California, today's leading international teacher for blues harmonica and head of the online school bluesharmonica.com, the wonderful David Barrett.
Thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Delightful that you could make it. Thank you. From Santiago de Compostela in Spain, now resident in Berlin, blues and Latin harmonica performer extraordinaire, the lovely Markos Coll. Hi, Markos, if you can hear us. Then, from Chicago, the pioneer of harmonica customizing, head of the Hona affiliated customizer program, and probably the greatest living exponent and teacher of traditional blues harmonica styles. Please welcome Mr. Joe Filikso.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Joey. Then we have from Berlin, the head of the Berlin Harmonica School and master of musical styles ranging from the blues to Balkan and world music, Mr. Marko Jovanovic.
Thank you, Steve. Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hi, Marko. And last but not least, Joe Filikso's duo partner and our guitar instructor at the Harmonica Masters for many years, from Chicago, Mr. Eric Noden. So we're going to kick things off now with a bit of live music. I suppose I should introduce myself. My name is Steve Baker. I'm the festival director, and I'm going to be hosting the next couple of hours. So thank you, everyone who's turned up to be part of this. It's really great that you have been so numerous in your responses, and we hope that you're going to have a great time. And we're going to start off with Marko Jovanovic and Stefano Ronchi coming to you live from Berlin. Take it away, guys.
All right.
Hello, everybody.
Please, man. Thank you. All right, let's go. Ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me where Easy Rider's gone. Oh, tell me where Easy Rider's gone. Anywhere we man, always in the wrong. Man, yo, Easy Rider died on the road. I said, man, yo, Easy Rider died on the road. I'm a poor man here, and I got nowhere to go. Yeah. Well, it's gonna be the time, baby, that a woman don't need no man. Gonna be the time, woman don't need no man. Now shut your mouth, darling, and don't be raging sad. Yeah. I can't find my woman, yeah. She must be out of town. I can't find my woman, she must be out of town. 'Cause she left me this morning with a face in a terrible frown. Oh, I went down to the depot, darling, and set my suitcase down. Yes, I did. I went down to the depot, ooh, set my suitcase down. When the blues overtake me, woo, and the tears come rolling down. Now, say Fair Brown, was the matter now? Oh, say Fair Brown, was the matter now? Try your best to quit me, you still don't know how. Yeah.
Cool.
So weird to not hear the, the clapping thing.
Think
Is
But we can see.
streaming? Yeah, we can see. It's already sun. All right. Got
do
one
another
more, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's do one more.
Great.
If you ever change your mind, I believe it won't leave me behind. Oh, bring it to me. Bring your sweet love and bring it on home to me. I gave you jewelry and money too, but it ain't all I do for you, baby. Bring it to me, bring your sweet love and bring it on home to me, yeah. You know I always be your slave until I'm buried down in my grave. Bring it to me, bring your sweet love. Oh, darling, bring it on home to me. If you ever, oh, change your mind, I believe it, leave them behind. Bring it to me, bring your sweet love, bring it on home to me. You know I always be your slave until I'm buried, oh, buried down in my grave. Yeah, yeah, bring it on, bring your sweet love, bring it on home to me. Come on, bring it home. Bring it on home to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Stefano.
Marko Jovanovic. Thank you so much. Think you're done.
Do we have more time?
So we have sound. Thank you very much, guys. If you want, you can do another one if people would like to hear it. If you have a short one, do another song.
Sure, of course. What key was this one?
This was E.
So let's go F.
F.
Yeah.
Can wait. Wait, I don't have F right now.
G.
G.
Yeah. Precious Lord, take my hand. Oh, lead me home, let me stand. 'Cause I'm tired, oh yes I am. I'm weak too, and I'm alone. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me home, let me stand. I'm tired, I'm weak, and I'm alone. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me home. When the sun is near and the night grows near, and the day is past and gone, at the river I stand, got my feet, I hold my hand. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me home, let me stand. I'm tired, I'm weak, and I'm alone. Through the storm and through the night, lead me home to the light. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me home. When the darkness appears and the night draws near, and the days past and gone, hear my cry, hear my call, my hand, lest I fall. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand. Precious Lord, take my hand. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand. Precious Lord, take my hand. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me home. Yeah. Precious Lord, take my hand. Precious Lord, take my hand. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand. Precious Lord, take my hand. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me home. Ooh, yeah.
Oui.
That was fun.
Stefano.
Marko Jovanovic.
Marko Jovanovic, Stefano, Ronchi. Thank you, guys.
Hi.
That's great. We're going to move into the first. We're going to move into the first question and answer section now. It would be cool if people who are not speaking would mute their sound, because otherwise we're going to have chaos. We had a great suggestion when we had our preliminary meeting for this. We're living in extraordinary times and live music is virtually impossible. This is a really tough time for any musician, because in the end an awful lot of us get our energy to perform from you know, going out in front of audiences, and it's quite hard to find inspiration if you're just sitting at home on your own. So a question that came up when we were talking about this is, how do you approach playing in times of lockdown, of corona? And I'd like to ask our panel what their way is, what our instructors do to deal with this situation. Maybe we could start with David Barrett. Dave, can you tell us what your opinion is on dealing with this kind of unprecedented situation? Is he there?
The challenge is keeping motivated, is when you have jam sessions that you can go to, you work on your songs ahead of time, you prepare with jam tracks, and then you go to perform at a jam session, or maybe you have a small band that you play with, you have a context. So one of the challenges is having something to look forward to, and sometimes the fear of public humiliation is a great motivator to practice. And one thing that you could do, this for me started many years ago when I would have students who didn't have time to be in a band. And I'd say, what about recording? One of my students, he just finished playing with a band and just didn't have the time to devote into managing a band. And I said, well, let's keep you motivated and let's do a recording session. In this case, we recorded everything at my school, but I've had other students through the years who have used that idea and even gone to the studio, for example. But since we are focused at home, one of the things that people can do is invest, and a lot of us have. As teachers, we all have, of course, invested in upgrading our home studio equipment. And it's very inexpensive. In many cases, you can record with just your voice memo app on your phone. Or again, you can use computer recording software for that, and then share it. Find whatever social media that you're involved in. Maybe there's local blues clubs that have an online presence. At bluesharmonica.com, we have a section called Share. And my private students, we have a harp hangout. So what I do with my students is we work on material. I say, get that ready to perform at the harp hangout. And that gives you kind of a goal to work towards. So I think trying to find obtainable goals, and again, in these very different times, recording can be kind of a fun way to approach that and to share that with everybody.
That makes good sense to me. And I would have to say that one of the greatest technological innovations of the last 30 years has really got to be the fact that you can record on your mobile phone in remarkably high quality. Everyone's got one and you can do it anywhere. So that is definitely a motivational aid for sure. Joe, do you have anything you'd like to add to that? Because I believe you're also planning on putting together a sort of online party which may help people deal with this kind of situation.
I think Dave covered it really well. I don't have anything to add to it.
Well, that's ended that discussion then, hasn't it? Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say about this? Marko, Markos, Joel, anyone got any comments? Marko.
Motivation, as David said, is sure one of the big things to look on, like what is my motivation to get up to do things in these situations? What is my motivation to develop anyway if it's not possible to play with others? The second topic, I think it's very, very important to talk about and to think about is structuring yourself. So structuring your schedule. Do I have any structure in my practicing? Do I need it? Do I want it? In my opinion, yes. It's absolutely helpful to have any idea where I am, and do I want to develop towards some goals. And me personally, I like, for example, practicing in the morning before I do my breakfast. So I'm getting up early, and I try to follow like this. As often as possible, and everybody has his life and his daily routines and stuff, but routines are helpful, and structuring and creating a practice routine and like things you know you want to learn, writing it down, having some kind of written down schedule of your progress. I think it's connected to the motivation because then it motivates you back if you see that you fulfilled in 1 month or 2 months your schedule and so on. So I always recommend and teach and help with structuring practice charts for certain topics. And I think this is something I'd like to add to this discussion.
Do you think, because we've had a question on this topic here from Anatoly, who asked, is it good to learn, for example, the techniques that you need to play a piece first, or is it best to go phrase by phrase? Or do you recommend breathing exercises, for example, to get warmed up? How would you approach learning a piece?
There are a couple of questions in the question here. So I'm a huge fan of technique in general, of learning the techniques. So if I want to be able to paint, to paint, to make a painting, I have to know my colors. I have to know my tools with what I want to paint. And so technique is a tool for expression, for sounds, for expression tools actually. And I think one part of the study should be absolutely dedicated in the techniques of these certain styles, or the certain style you want to play. If it's more pre-war blues or Chicago blues or not blues at all, whatever you want to play, you have to know the techniques. So, and a song can be a guide which can give you the frame where you can hear certain techniques which are necessary to play it. And so it's always something you can go back to or listen to it and then go back to study the techniques which are necessary for it. With that, and in particular with harmonica, I can recommend to find someone who can, it sounds maybe strange, but to teach you the techniques, because as we know, on a piano, you can look on the fingers, on the guitar, you can look on the fretboard, and you can see what's going on. But it's always good to have someone who will guide you through the process of learning these techniques. And I'm saying this and emphasizing this because I know that how frustrating it can be that when you hear something in a song, a certain sound, and you try to imitate it, but actually you don't reach it, you don't get it. And there's something slightly different played, and that makes the changing sound of it. And so if you have someone who knows the sound, who can explain these techniques, if you find any source of information, I think that can help in the process. I hope that answers a little.
Yeah, thanks, Marko. I think that sorry, I'm hearing my own echo. I think that it's a very good way to approach learning music in general is to try to learn songs, because music is basically songs rather, this doesn't exist in a vacuum. It all came into being as a way of performing songs. So I personally like to look at the song rather than necessarily a technique. A technique's just a kind of way of getting there. And you may not always have to learn the exact technique that somebody who created something first used in order to be able to play a creditable version of the song. We've got some other questions coming in here, which we can move on to, but does anyone else have anything they'd like to add to this initial question of how to deal with your sort of motivational situation, or should we move on? Anyone got anything to say about that? Joel, have you got anything you'd like to say about motivation and, working in a lockdown?
Yeah, I was going to mention that I think it's a little bit different maybe in the Irish music scene, because there's not too much like improvisation in Irish music. So at least for the traditional Irish music. So there it's more or less about learning tunes. And they usually say that if you know about 200 Irish tunes, then you'll get along quite good in a session. So one motivation thing for people out there learning Irish music could be to set up a goal that I want to learn 50 new tunes, and then just work your way down. That's at least something I've been doing. So for the past 4 months or something, I've gotten maybe 45 new tunes. And that's for
impressive.
me, it's a nice goal. And I had a goal of learning 50 new tunes. And then it's like, oh yeah, it's 5 more.
So where do you find them?
Well, for me, I more or less only listen to accordion players and fiddle players. So not too much harmonica players for Irish music, of course, then. And so it could be anywhere on YouTube, CDs, Spotify, anywhere. And then when I hear a tune that appeals to me, it's like, ooh, what's that tune? And then sometimes that the name of the tune is written up on the back of the CD. Sometimes it just says unknown. But if you can learn the first 5 notes of the tune, there's a very good website called folktunefinder.com. It has a piano layout, and if you know the first 5 notes, then you can push in the notation, the notes, these 5 notes that you know, and then this website will give you examples of tunes that has these notes.
Okay.
And there you can find the tune if you're into sheet music, for instance.
Interesting. Markos, what do you do to stay like motivated in this situation actually? I mean, sitting at home in Berlin, how do you deal with it?
Well, I gotta be honest, the first like 2 weeks or months, I was like really didn't want to do too much, my mood was really down. I was just, watching series or stupid things. But after 1 month, I said, this is gonna take time, so I better use the time. And, I started learning some chords in the piano, of course, practicing harmonica, writing songs with Logic. Stefano, when was Stefano Ronchi, who played with Marko, was giving me a lot of tips for Logic, for music production. So now these days you got everything in YouTube for free, tutorials and everything. So that's how after 1 month I really changed, and I really was motivated for learning new things, and I was using time. And yeah, now comes another lockdown, and I think I'm gonna do the same. What can I do?
What can you do?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time for some more live music, and we were going to schedule some Irish tunes from Joel Andersson, seeing as he's been talking about them so eloquently. Joel, would you be so kind as to play us a couple?
Certainly, sir. And there were some people asking if we could mention what kind of harmonicas we were playing on. And I'm going to start out with the so-called octaharp. So it's an octave harmonica with a mouthpiece that connects 2 diatonic harmonicas. And this one is kind of special because this is a low D. And then I made the other harp the other day, and that's a low D. So it's lower than the Thunderbird low F. So this one goes really deep. But it's very cool.
I
Thank you, guys. So yeah, that's very low. And I'm gonna continue with a Hohner Rocket in low D, tuned to tuning called Easy Third, which I know Steve Baker had another name for. It's a great tuning. It means that your hole 1, 2, and 3 are tuned to the exact same notes as holes 4, 5, 6. So you get that, which is great for Irish music. So here we have 2 jigs. Thank you, guys. So that's 2 jigs. And how many Irish tunes you know in total? Oh, I actually did try to count them the other day here, and I ended up with 343. So yeah, but you know how it is. They are all the same in the end. More or less.
Would you like to do another one?
Yeah, do we have time for a last set?
If you're quick, yeah.
If you're quick, okay, yeah. So this would be played on a Hohner XP40, which I really like. One of the reasons why I play them is because I like the hole spacing. It has the same hole spacing as a chromatic harmonica. And this one is tuned to a Mixolydian tuning. So I have a D major on the blow and a C major on the draw.
right, Joel Anderson, the harmonica alien. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
We've got a question coming from Ben. What is the best way to develop vibrato? This is a really central aspect of many harmonica styles. In fact, I would say it's independent of styles, really. It's one of the basic things that you need to learn to be able to do. Would Joe Filikso, would you be prepared to say something about developing vibrato?
Yes, I think the best way to develop vibrato, tremolo, is by practicing the harmonica train imitation, really learning how to articulate that from the throat, in my opinion, hits the bullseye on how to develop it. Aside from that, it's just practicing it on long breaths, really. Most of blues playing is inhaling, so take a deep exhale breath, and then play as long as you can on a relaxed inhale breath.
But that doesn't really say a lot about how you create the vibrato. I mean, I've said this before, I once did a medical investigation at the University Hospital in Hamburg where they stuck a camera, an endoscopic camera, through my nose, looking down my throat. And I was able to observe vibrato actually in real time, seeing what was happening. And inside the body, with the vibrato that I personally play, that has got two components. I was able to see that, which is the first one is the larynx, the vocal folds in the larynx are partially closing and opening again, so that the amount of air that passes through is not constant, it's pulsing. And the second thing is that the part of the throat above the larynx, the pharynx, that plays quite a big role, because that's what turns the staccato that you get from just the vocal folds opening and closing into an actual pitch alteration, which is what creates the vibrato. It's a bit like if you fill a rubber balloon with water and sort of shake it, it will pulsate. And it's a bit similar to that. Dave, would you like to say anything about vibrato, about how to develop vibrato?
Yeah, both those elements are important. So Joe brought up the tremolo, and then Steve, I remember seeing that study on your, it wasn't a DVD, but it was a media disc. I remember when that first came out, I was very much interested in taking a look at that. So we have the tremolo as the bass. Then we have the throat area right here. So the vocal folds opening and closing. And one of the things that's important to understand is that we have tremolo and vibrato. Tremolo is a change in volume, and vibrato is a change in pitch. So as the vocal folds open and close, obviously we're hearing the note get louder and softer and louder and softer. But also when we're going for the vibrato, we need to have this area of the mouth relaxed. There's actually a couple things that also physically have to happen to make a vibrato work. One, your mouth must be tuned to the pitch that you are performing the vibrato on. So there's a couple things that have to happen before a player is even able to create this technique. And that's why I don't teach it to beginning or commonly even intermediate players, though sometimes a student can be ready. Is one, they have to have the tremolo be comfortable and confident. It's happening without them having to think about it, become subconscious. Two, their bending has to be long enough so that if I grab my A harmonica, for example, that they notice that when they play their two draw, they have a certain mouth shape and tongue shape. And when they go to the sixth draw, they have a different mouth shape and tongue shape, because what's happening is their body has subconsciously, this is not something we think about, but the body has subconsciously learned to tune yourself to the reed that you're playing. And that's what allows us to barely move the tongue and to create a bend. In other words, as you develop the skill set to play faster, subconsciously what's happening is your body's learning how to tune itself to the actual reed that you're playing. So it allows us with just the smallest amount of movement to go into a bend. And if our mouth is tuned too large, maybe really focusing on getting big tone and you drop your tongue and drop your jaw and everything opens up. If you go to your sixth draw, you'd notice the tongue would have to travel quite far before a bend would initiate. So that second part is that one's bending needs to be far enough along that the subconscious body has learned to tune itself to the reed that's being played. And then lastly, a player needs to be relaxed. A lot of us, when we're learning how to bend, and for our teachers, we see this all day long, that the harmonica player really tenses everything up, balls up the tongue, and you see their neck muscles bulge and their shoulder muscles. And it takes time to develop that skill set to bend while staying relaxed. And as Steve mentioned, that this area, not only does the tongue move and being in the back, being influenced by the vocal folds opening and closing, so is the back of the throat. So dynamically what's happening is everything has to be relaxed enough so that everything moves back there, which is changing its size. Larger means the pitch will go down. And as everything relaxes and comes in, then the pitch is going to go up. So this has to be able to move. So three things, the tremolo has to be there. Two, one has to be bending long enough so that the mouth subconsciously tunes to the reed that you play, and you need to be relaxed while you bend. So not that we're physically trying to bend when we're doing the vibrato, but your mouth needs to be relaxed enough so that everything can move and dynamically change pitch to make the vibrato happen.
But the starting point is actually the learning to get the vocal folds to partially close at a constant tempo. And that's
Yes.
very central to that. Marko, did you want to say anything to that?
Yes, maybe a quick tip I could add to all of what you've said so far, just a very quick exercise which activates these muscles easily, and it's simply to remember if you try to practice to sound like a goat and with first exhaling the sound, I will do it firstly like meh, meh, and you can go into the speed in the fast goat sound and first try to make it to hold the note so that it's constantly contracting. And that is the easy part, but it's going to be much tougher if you now keep the muscle contraction, but you inhale it. And then you have to slow down the amplitude or the speed of it and lower and relax everything. But the goat is a good starting point because it activates the part of. You can change the speed of it and create it. If I put it on harmonica. So the goat, easy to remember, it's a good starting point.
Dave.
Yeah, quick question, Marko. What do you do, or how do you describe to students once you have achieved the vibrato? In my experience, it's easier to achieve the vibrato at a faster speed at first. You got that goat thing really going. And it takes a lot more time for it to be able to, it takes more experience to slow down that vibrato, which is kind of an uncontrolled type of thing. How do you teach, or how do you think about slowing down that vibrato so that you can get that real soulful, real slow vibrato?
It is correct what you just said. So it's much easier to do it in the fast way. When we learn first time to activate certain muscles for harmonica playing, it's easier to learn it in a big movement, in a strong movement, in a fast movement, and then stepwise to slow it down. And it is harder, and I teach it first. So it would sound in the beginning like this. It's very tense and fast, and it's very simple, but it's not that simple to do it. It's simple to say what I will say, but it's not that simple. It's actually, you just loosen up everything. You lose the inhaling breath, you lose the muscles here, and it would sound like this. And then you try to hold it in the relaxed way. So without like interrupting the breath string, you keep it in the relaxed position and adjust a little the cavity to get the warmer sound. But it's a lot of, it sounds stupid to say, sorry for, it's a lot of practice, but it's also a muscle thing. The muscles have to come in shape. They have to find its way. So start fast and have the goal of slowing it down. And always be aware that the contraction is a rhythmical component in your playing. So it's either triplets or 16 notes or whatever. It has to have some connection to rhythmical values in the song, in the music. So it's not out of space. It's connected to things you play. So. Ba 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 ba. So it's a rhythmical thing as well.
Yeah,
I hope.
It is. It's a really important component, certainly, and that is, I believe, also one of the most difficult parts to learn, is to get the tempo fairly constant. That's really pretty difficult. But worth putting in the time. We've got some other questions coming up, but I think has anyone got anything that they'd like to say to the subject of vibrato, or that we haven't sort of already lit upon, or shall we move on and have some more live music? No further comments? All right. In that case, it's time for some more live music, once again from Berlin. So would you please all get ready to listen to Markos Coll and Andres, Nazar. Is that correct, Andres? Andres Nazar?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
I know. Thanks, guys. Take it away.
All right. This is Andres Nazar from Chile. He's also from Santiago. That's one of the reasons he got the gig with me. And the second reason is that he came to me and he said, you know, I did a workshop on how to back up harmonica players. And I said, like, you did what? Okay, you know, I never had any guitar player who actually, you know, took the time. I mean, a lot of guitar players I played with know how to play with harmonica players, but like really specific to learn how to back up harmonica players, especially in blues, you know, Chicago blues and West Coast. So we're gonna start with a shuffle in the key of love. Key of love. Fa. Vamos con son. Dale con son.
Vamos. Estamos con. Hacemos
Sí.
copado.
1, 2, 3. Vamos a Santiago.
Vamos.
Santiago.
Yeah, Markos Coll and Andersson. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next Q&A. We've got a question that came in, which I think is pretty relevant, from Elizabeth, which is how to develop a better tonal color on every note that you play. Before we move to that, by the way, there's over 160 people here. That's really cool. Thank you all for looking in. That's really nice. I wish we could get that many people physically in Trossingen. We haven't quite got that far yet. Yeah, how do you develop tonal color so that you can make the notes that you play sound best? What I would say to that is you have to learn to listen. You've got to really learn to pay attention to what you're sounding like. And so the easiest way to do that is to sustain notes for a long time and really go into how you are making them sound, because a lot of the time we move through a sequence of notes really quickly and play a bunch one after the other, but don't necessarily sustain them for long enough to really listen to what they sound like. And so I think that a really central thing, if you want to work at building tone, is first of all, take your time and play the notes for long enough that you can really hear what they sound like. And the other thing that occurs to me that seems to be very relevant is that the larger, generally speaking, the throat shape that you adopt, the better your tone is likely to be. So that if you have a small mouth shape, then you're going to sound thin and hard. Whereas if you've got a large open throat shape, and that is pretty much irrespective of whether you play with a pucker or a tongue block. If this space is large, then the note's going to sound nicer. Our panel of experts what would you guys say to that? How to improve your sound generally and make each note sound at its best? How would you approach that? Dave, would you like to say something about that? Is he there?
Oh, it's on me. Sorry. I saw Marko raise his hand, so I didn't want to talk in return.
We'll have him up.
I see Marko's hand going, I got something. I agree with everything you said. I think that really is those are the important elements. The one tip I'll just like to give out to students is most of the students don't know where their tongue is because they can't see it. There's no proprioception of where is my tongue when I'm playing. So get your Filikso tongue block trainer mirror, or every time you go brush your teeth, go look in the mirror. And what you can do is you can put the harmonic in your mouth and place it where you normally would place it in your mouth. Then take the harmonica out of your mouth and then open your mouth a little bit. Try not to move your tongue position relative to your lower jaw very much. And look to see where the middle back of your tongue is. And a lot of the workshops that I do, we'll talk about tone. And I'll say one of the important things on top of what Steve just mentioned is to make sure that the middle and the back of the tongue is lowered for good tone production. And I ask the students to give that a try, and I say, okay, everyone's got it. They put their thumbs up, and then I ask them, okay, look at your neighbor, look at the neighbor, and then open your mouth. And then what the neighbor will say is that commonly their tongue is humped up like a ski jump in the back. So go in front of that mirror, play a note, open up, and check to see, is my tongue raised in the middle and the back or lowered? If the tongue is raised, you'll get unintentional bending. A lot of you can probably remember not being able to play the two draw on the harmonica. It commonly would be flat or would squeal or just sound with poor tone. A lot of you probably tried to return your harmonicas because of that. So if that tongue is raised in the middle of the back, you get accidental bending, and also that's robbing you of tone. So make sure you know where your tongue is in the middle and the back and practice it. Do that every day for a period of time so that you can learn what it feels like and you can confirm with your eyes that the tongue is down, because most people who have difficulty with tone and especially bending, controlling their bends, they don't exactly know where their tongue is.
That sounds like it makes very good sense to me. Mark, I'll come right to you in a second.
Yes.
I just wanted to say one thing that I also see as being really important, and that is the role of the soft palate, the soft back part of the roof of the mouth, because that is something that you can actually control quite considerably. And an awful lot of techniques to get good tone will entail pulling that part of the soft palate back so that you create, once again, a larger space above the middle part of your tongue that Dave is talking about. The two things, I think, hang together. Marko, what did you wish to say?
I just wanted to add another animal. We had the goat. As a quick tip, I have the turtle now. It's not good for the posture, and you will have to do some counter exercises. If you play always with a great tone and you sound the best, you will get problems with your neck. But my quick tip is the turtle. Push the head to the front, and you open up spaces to get more volume, more cavity. So if I have it regularly, if I have my normal posture, so this little movement of the neck to the front, like a turtle, creates additional space here. In combination with something we do every day, if we do it aware and use it like yawning and sighing, if you stretch that inner cavity, yeah, and you really make sure that these spaces are stretched and you can hold them, practice to hold them in the maximum openness with the combination of the turtle, creates this bigger, fatter sound. So that's my quick tip.
So everyone seems to be pretty much in agreement that it's all about how you form the shape of the inside of your mouth, one way or another, whether it's the tongue, whether it's the soft palate. I'll come straight to you, Joel. Whether it's the soft palate, whether it's the position of the tongue, whether it is the actual position of the head relative to the shoulders, these are all things that will definitely play a role. Joel, what did you want to say there? Joel?
I just wanted to say that when I teach my students about tone, I teach them exactly the same thing as Marko here is describing with yawning. But I also tell them to try and make their tone as small and tiny as possible, so they really can hear the difference themselves. Because if you're always trying to get a bigger tone all the time, then it's really hard for you to hear, oh, do I make any improvement really? But if you can get that, so you can hear the difference between the tiny, tiny tone and then to get up to the really huge tone.
Yeah, that is, you'll certainly hear a bigger difference if you do that.
Yeah.
Another question which connects up with this that we've had is Anatoly is asking how to improve tone while puckering. Now, we have a wide range of players on our panel, from absolute tongue block exclusive performers to people who do it less. Personally, I use both embouchures and switch in between them. And in answer to the question, how do you improve the tone when puckering? Because there is no doubt that it sounds different to playing with a tongue block. One of the things that I found that I do, I didn't learn this consciously, but I found that it developed like that, was that if I am playing with a pucker, I will extend my lower jaw forwards like this, and I will tilt the back of the harmonica up so that it falls into this protruding lower jaw like this. And personally, I find that that is a really good way of making the tone more powerful and richer, and can help go quite a long way to evening out the differences in sound between tongue block and pucker, because an awful lot of players actually seem to switch between the two for a lot of the time while they're playing. I don't know if any of the rest of you do this, but I certainly do it continually. I very rarely play any kind of sequence of notes with just one embouchure. I'll usually switch from one to the other. But when I pucker, I will automatically tilt the harp up, and rather than having it straight in the mouth, it's actually more like that. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say about that matter? Marko, you got anything on puckering tone?
Me personally, I think like it's good to be able to play both techniques, and I agree that me personally, I'm constantly switching between these techniques, and they have advantages and disadvantages. They are colorations, they add possibilities, both like puckering, certain faster approaching of notes, and the rhythmical component and tongue blocking and stuff. But I think about when we talk about tone, everything is about space of the cavity of making it big or small, and being able to adjust it to what you want to express with it. So like Joel said, so it's a wonderful thing to be just aware of the possibilities. What's the smallest, what's the biggest sound I can get, and anything in between. And that's one system that's like it starts from the lips to the mouth, to the tongue, to the breathing, to the diaphragm. Everything is connected, and the more we are aware of all these components in our playing, we can use it for our sound shaping. And but I think the general ideas are similar for puckering or tongue blocking. There's no, like, it's not a complete different approach. It's the harmonica connects to the lips, and everything what is behind the lips is basically almost the same, I would say so.
So it seems to really come down to taking the time to learn to listen and to learn to explore the dynamic range, really, of the instrument. Is there anything that anyone else would want to say to that about Markos? You play sometimes with a pucker and sometimes with a tongue block, right?
Yeah, I think depending on the song, there's if you go to like classic blues, you mostly use tongue blocking, but other things, I don't know. I think it depends on the key of the harp, on many things. You know, it's like some phrases are easier to do with puckering, some others you cannot do it. The opposite, like, you know, you have to know both, because if you don't know if you are a pucker but you don't know tongue blocking, you cannot do octaves, for instance, and octaves is you really need them. So it's really, you need both.
I think a lot of people actually do use, but I was really delighted to hear an interview with Kim Wilson where he said that he frequently puckered, and I've also heard Jerry Portnoy say the same. The interesting thing for me is that some people find it easier to tongue block higher notes, for example, and other people find it easier to tongue block lower notes. So I think there's an awful lot of sort of individual physiological differences here, which mean that it's horses for courses, and something that works for one person isn't necessarily going to work in the same way for another person. It's like there isn't a right way to go about things. There's just ways that work or don't work as well. That would be my personal opinion. Anyone want to say anything else about that, or shall we go on to more music? I think it's time for more music. David, would you care to play us some tunes?
I'd be happy to.
We look forward to hearing them.
I'll start, since we had a request for the harmonicas, I'm going to play a B flat harp on this one. Then I'll move to the A on the next song and the G on the next one.
And what harps are you playing, David?
I am playing Hohner Marine Band harmonicas, customized by Joe Filikso. Thank you, Hohner. Thank you, Joe. Thank
Cool,
you very much.
brilliant.
Thank you, Steve.
Excellent, man. Okay. So we've got a couple of questions come in here, which one of them I think I'd like to move to this next. Greg asks, how do you approach learning to improvise or play when accompanying other musicians, using jam tracks or learning individual songs or studying tabs? There are many different ways of looking at this, and I have to be honest that I can't really answer that question because I learnt to play the harmonica basically on stage. So I don't personally have a particularly systematic approach to learning anything. I wonder if any of you guys have something to say about that. The best way to approach learning to improvise and accompany. How would you suggest going about that? Marko, would you like to say something about that?
Sure. I think it's always important to, by answering this, to be aware what it means to improvise and why do we want to improvise. So we can just learn a song and play it from the beginning to the end, how it's written down. What is the benefit of improvising? Why should we do it? What is the goal of it? And once we figure that out, that it's maybe fun to do it, that it's an expression, each individual can express himself through improvisation, and the risk to enter ground which is not covered yet. So it's everything is possible. It's right on the edge. You can be completely wrong. You can create the greatest solo ever. It's like that tension, which is so much fun to improvise. So in its interaction, if you play with someone together, an accompanies, a guitar player, a band, a whole band, it's the interaction between people. It's the communication between people. So if we remember like the idea of that music is a language, and that we can, and it's always good to compare things which we know from language, like how is a good, what creates a great discussion. It's not that everybody learns his text and then we tell us each other everything we prepared. So like in language, we talk to each other and we react to things the other person is telling us, giving us. So it's an interaction between two persons or more persons. So that's a good example, I think, for music as well. So how to learn it? There's no quick tip. I think the quickest way to learn it, I would basically say, learn your instrument. Be aware of functions in music, basic functions like rhythm, harmony, and melody. Start to think about these three building blocks of music in general. Listen to a lot of music, and maybe the fourth tip would be ask someone who has more experience with you. Ask someone who's following that path for a longer time and has more experience and is willing to share knowledge with you. It can be a teacher, it can be a friend, it can be a good book, it can be a good harmonica school, it can be whatever source you find. So accept guidance through the process of finding your voice in music. I would say so.
The thing is, I think really music is, as Marko very rightly says, a communicative process. It happens together with other people. And so it's very difficult when you try to learn it on your own with reference to, jam tracks or tabs or books or whatever it is, because it's the process that happens in real time, improvising. And also, accompaniment is slightly easier to systematize. There are kind of ways that you can approach accompaniment, but to learn to improvise, I really think that you just really have to play a great deal and learn the language, because in the end, music is, as Marko said, a language, and it's a bit like speaking any language. You have to learn it, and then it really helps if you have something to say. You know, this is a really central thing. Um, David, would you like to say something about learning to accompany?
I would love to. And if we have the time, I'd love to talk a little bit about the improvising too. Won't want to shut out the other presenters, but these are my two favorite subjects to teach. From accompaniment, just to give students something to grab onto right away. Right away, you have get to know the chords. So get to know your 12-bar blues progression and learn the root notes of those chords. So if you're playing in the key of G, for example, find out where G is on your C harmonica, commonly second position being our main position. And just, this happens to be an A harmonica, but learn a basic rhythm like that and be able to hit that root note on the one chord and then changing to the four chord. If you guys are taking notes, that's 2 draw for the one chord, 1 blow or 4 blow for the 4 chord. And when the 5 chord comes in the 12-bar blues, 1 draw or 4 draw. Whether it's a Charleston rhythm like that, bop, ba, or long holds, especially in a slow blues, that'll get you started right away. Then there's the traditional approach of playing fills, basically little solos when the vocalist is not singing. It's always safest when doing accompaniment to play fills, not play while the vocalist is singing, because you do need to know your chords, whether intuitively or with your left brain, actually know what the notes of the chords are so that you're not accidentally grabbing too much attention, because obviously the focus is the vocalist at that point. It's also smart to study horn lines, for example, and those could be simple plain octaves, for example, with that same rhythm. This is a 3 blow, 6 blow A, or 3 blow, 6 blow octave on my A harmonica. Or like an organ player playing a flutter on a 5 draw, that's where your tongue is coming on and off the face of the harmonica. Creating something similar to an organ player hitting a chord, and you got that Leslie tone cabinet spinning, creating a nice bedding. And then the most advanced would be actually playing the whole time. But again, it's the most advanced because there's definitely an art to playing quietly under the vocals, and it sounds like they're soloing, but they're playing notes that match more of the chords, that aren't grabbing too much attention. And of course, copy the masters. No one ever told me that, hey, Dave, it'd be a great idea to study what little Walter did behind Muddy Waters, or big Walter Horton behind Johnny Shines. We have, for whatever reason, default to studying the great solos and the great soloists of our time, but of equal value and more value if you are playing in a live type setting. How much are you actually soloing compared to you're accompanying a vocalist or a soloist? I'll pause there for a moment. If you don't mind, bring it back to me on the improvising, because we have some amazing accompanying harmonica players in this panel. I'd like to give you guys a chance to say something.
I'd like to hear what Joe Filikso would say to accompanying as a harmonica player.
90% of the time that you're on the bandstand with a band or with another musician, you're in the role of the accompanist. And I just think it's a really sad thing when harmonica players are standing there doing nothing, waiting for their time to solo. So unlike improvising, I think my definition, in my experience, accompanying means having a plan. Dave certainly covered a good bulk of the plans for what to do as an accompanying harmonica player. But there's also rhythmic things that you can do. Just doing rhythmic chording continually as an accompanist. I treat, playing with Mr. Noden, I treat the harmonica very much as a rhythm instrument, not as a melodic instrument totally when I'm playing. Many people treat the harmonica as though it was like a soprano saxophone or a clarinet. They're treating it as a melody instrument. When I play, I treat it very much as a rhythm instrument in the role of an accompanist. So I think, and that's what I listen for when I'm listening to harmonica recordings somebody might send me, is what is the harmonica doing in the role of the accompanist? Very much interests me. I would also like to point out that that it could be confusing to somebody new if you don't listen to the let's just say that some of the stuff Little Walter did in the sideman role behind Muddy Waters was very busy playing. It was very improvisational. But you're really listening to the greatest of the greats in that role. Listen to the accompaniment stuff Little Walter did behind Muddy on a song like, gosh, what's that song? I can't think of this. No. The ball and chain thing.
Want to make room? I just want to.
No, it's not that one. I can't even think of the song. I'm sorry, but he's doing lots of really mega sustaining stuff that Dave was pointing out. Ready, I'm ready. So there's these big, long sustaining things that you could easily say, oh, that's not hard, until you really listen to how long he's sustaining this chordal texture shake sound. So a lot of stuff like that could easily be overlooked. You could think it's not difficult and greatly underestimate some of the breathing challenges that are in those specific songs, in those specific techniques, in the role of an accompanist.
Okay, pretty cool. Markos, would you like to say something?
I want to add my little 2 cents, because of course, like what Joe was saying, Little Walter backing up Muddy Waters, or everybody who was backing up Muddy Waters, is like he told them how to play, how to back him up. But there's one guy that is really not known, and he was playing with not really known, playing with one of the guitar players from Muddy Waters. I tell everybody when they ask me about this subject, about backing up, his name was Tony Cagney. He was a guy from Boston, and he recorded with Luther Snakeboy Johnson. And for me, it's one of the guys who back up best with the harmonica. It's like he's just doing like all the time. He don't. The solos are just one round. He don't overdo it. He was badass, yeah. and for me, he's great. I really learn a lot from him of how to, be there all the time, but not doing crashing up with the other instruments or nothing. He's like really rhythmic, and I don't know. I love it. You people should, who don't know, check out the Luther Snakeboy Johnson. Woman Don't Lie, or going down to the real nitty gritty. Those albums are incredible for me.
What was the name of the harmonica player again, Markos?
They used to call him Tony C, Tony Cagnina. In some records is Tony Cognita, but the real name is Tony Cagnina. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but Tony. The best is to look for the Luther Snakeboy Johnson records. That's where you find him, and for me, it's just incredible how the sense of playing with a band.
Yeah, I think one thing is really important when you're accompanying. Really, the vital thing is that most of the time you will be accompanying a singer. So please listen to what they're singing. Don't play things which have got nothing to do with the vocal and which may be cutting across it or stepping on it, because most of the singers that I've had the pleasure of accompanying have been exceptionally sensitive to their vocals being stepped on. They absolutely hate it. So it's really kind of important to understand your own role when you're accompanying, because you are accompanying. You're not the middle point of the song. You are part of the stuff that's going on around the song, and the song, the singer is delivering. So your job is to try to make the singer sound good. And you won't do that if you play too much, or if you play things which distract from what they're singing. Actually, it's a no-brainer, but that is something which is very important to bear in mind. Okay, we're gonna move on. We have one more question and answer session, I think, to come. If I consult my magic list, yeah. So if anyone's got any final questions, do get them into us. We'll possibly be looking at playing amplified and stuff like that. But before we do, I have the pleasure of playing you a couple of tunes, and I'm going to start right now. Okie dokie. We got something a bit different. I was playing a Hohner marine band crossover, by the way, in the key of C, for those who want to know. And now we're going to play something quite different. This is a third position piece. I don't think we've heard, except from Joel, any third position playing today so far. This is called The Third Kind. Okay, to finish off, I've got a very quick kind of up-tempo, old-school Chicago blues number. I learned an awful lot from playing music from people like Big Bill Broomsey, Big Joe Williams, Sonny Boy the First, and there was a whole school of early Chicago blues, which for me was some of the coolest music that ever came out of that city, and dates back to before Muddy Waters and the electric blues bands that everyone identifies with that music. This is my attempt at playing a song a little bit in this vein. This is played on a marine band crossover, once again in the key of F. I can get it to work. Yes.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, we seem to be pretty much in time here. That's cool. We've got some questions about amplification. I see that, for example, Fran Araya has asked us how to achieve the best tone and technique when playing amplified with a vocal mic. Most amplified harmonicas don't usually play with vocal mics, though some of them do. But we have some of the finest exponents of amplified harmonica here with us tonight. So I'd like to first of all start off by asking David what he thinks about playing amplified with a vocal mic at all. What would you say to that, Dave?
You know, I'm the wrong guy to ask. I don't do it. I
You
always
don't?
use.
I thought you were going to say that. That's why I asked you. I feel the same about it. If I'm going to play amplified, if I've really got to, I will take a vocal microphone and play into a PA or into an amplifier through it. But for me, that's a kind of a situation I must admit I do my best to avoid. Joe, what do you think about the combination?
I have no experience with that. I would never consider using a vocal mic into an amplifier.
Is there anyone who actually likes playing through a vocal mic into an amplifier? Markos?
Depends on the vocal mic. The time ago I found a very old Shure in Czech. The one that it was before the 57, like 2 times before.
Unidyne, Shure Unidyne.
And that sounded good through a tube amplifier. That I really liked it. The 58, not so much, you know, but that one I still got it. It's really good. But yeah, you know, normally you need the.
The thing is, right, that vocal microphones are low impedance, and amplifiers need a high impedance signal to drive them. So it's really a kind of mix of things that are they don't entirely fit together. What you can do, if you should wish to use a vocal mic to play into a PA system while holding it in your hands, I suppose you can use an impedance transformer so that you turn a low Z signal into a high Z signal. But it's a bit of a fool's errand, really, because then you might as well get a microphone that has a high impedance output. Is there anything, I mean, like I said, we have some great players here who are very accustomed to working with amplifiers. Dave, would you like to give us your opinion on how people should perhaps best think of approaching the topic?
Absolutely. I think one thing we should probably tell the listener, or maybe is get in the mind of the listener a little bit, is why they might ask the question. Traditionally, we play a bullet microphone. This is the Hohner Heart Blaster new microphone that Hohner has released, and a lot of great artists, a lot of them on this panel here, have helped to design, are in many ways designed based on the old bullet microphones that come from the 1940s and the 1950s. And there's a certain sound of these microphones going through, in this case, this is exactly what they were going through back then, because there was tube PAs and they had these speakers. And what was common for harmonica players is just to go up, and basically this was the cheap vocal mic that was available in these small clubs, and they would come up and play some harmonica into it. And as harmonica players figured out that, hey, this is a cool sound, I'd like to have this as be my regular sound, then harmonica players started to either play through like this Masco head through the cabinets. They would come stuffed in the bottom, and they would open them up, and little Walter was known to take one of the speaker cabinets, they're split, right? one on top of the bandstand for the actual show, and then one would go out into the alleyway so that people walking by can hear that amazing harmonica sound and be curious and come on inside the club. But it was basically what was available at that time, and it happens to fit our hands nice. And the sound that we are copying from the great harmonica players from the past is this sound, a bullet microphone through a tube amplifier. When we play through a vocal microphone, one of the things that can be smart is to think about they're two different things. And when we play acoustically, we want the acoustic sound of the harmonica and basically a microphone in front of us to pick up the sound of our natural sound of the harmonica, the hands, the effects that we do. We of course can come up and onto the microphone, but generally speaking, our goal is just to amplify what our acoustic sound is. In this case, we are changing the sound to electric harmonica, if you want to think of that. And it's, even though you can play the same into the bullet microphone, it is a different animal enough that we'll change our approach when playing amplified, and we'll change our approach when we're playing acoustic. So playing a vocal mic through amplifiers is not usually going to yield the best dynamic sound that we would want from an amplifier. And playing a bullet mic into a PA system, remember the PA system, the job is to be clean but louder, will generally not give you the sound you're looking for. So generally the path of least resistance is a bullet style microphone through a tube amplifier and a standard vocal mic through a PA system. If you're practicing at home, if you're serious about wanting to play with that acoustic sound, like Joe Filikso commonly is going to be performing acoustic, for example, and every now and again he'll pick up his bullet rig, then you can get maybe a keyboard amplifier or a powered monitor that's not too expensive. So you can get a microphone, put it on a stand, and practice your hand technique. The one thing we shouldn't ignore is that we do have players who are not influenced by the players that maybe myself and the other panelists would be influenced by. We're a lot influenced by that classic Chicago blues harmonica sound and approach, and we're used to seeing them holding a bullet microphone through a tube amplifier, where there's a lot of electronics available to us today, either through the actual amplifiers now have amp modeling, and also the recording software that we use that can be very inexpensive also have patches and amp modeling. So there's going to be a lot more players today experimenting with using a vocal mic and then using the processing to change the sound. For our old school classic players, it's about playing a tube amplifier with a good mic. I'll play just for a moment, just to give you an example of one of the things that we like about the tube amplifier is that it's dynamic. If I'm playing through a solid state rig, basically a non-tube amplifier type of rig, you can get a very similar sound to that crunchy, bassy blues sound that we like. But what happens is when you dig into a note combination like the 3-draw, 4-draw, which is the common note combination that we check our microphones and amplifiers with, you get the sound of the 3-draw and 4-draw, but what you don't get is that dynamic opening of sound. So you could think of, we have our vertical axis, which is softer and louder volume, but when playing through a good tube amplifier and a good microphone, we also have this horizontal axis where the sound can get fatter, and it's a dynamic sound as we play. Let's see if we can get a quick example here. And what I'll do is I'll play some single notes, then 2-note combinations. I'll play soft and I'll play loudly. In just this little 20-second example, you can hear how the tube amplifier gives you a very dynamic sound. So for those who are going for the classic sound, you can't go too wrong. Well, I mean, you pretty much want to go with a tube amplifier and a bullet style microphone. But if you're not necessarily locked into that, I am, just because that's the sound that's always excited me, there's a lot that you can experiment with, but I would recommend, not really to give a shameless plug, because I was one of the people fortunate to help design this microphone, but it's really the right tool for a lot of players. Instead of getting a vocal mic, these are not expensive microphones. And there's a good middle ground between this microphone. This is the Hohner HB52 microphone, is that it emulates, or it was built to have a similar sound to the old bullet microphones, but there's also a clarity to it that I think that not that necessarily the non-traditional player, I think the non-traditional player will also appreciate what it can do. So I wouldn't say that it's somewhere in between a vocal mic and a bullet mic, because it's more towards a bullet mic, but it was built with that in mind for players who also want to explore different sounds, samples, amp modeling. So you're generally safer going with something like this than kind of going down the path of that's not as common, which would be the vocal mic. As it goes for vocal mic technique, I would lean that towards players who perform more with a vocal mic. I tend to perform more with a bullet mic. Anyways, I hope that was a little bit helpful.
I'd like to make a couple of comments on what Dave said there. One of the things that is an important aspect of what he was demonstrating is that when you play double notes and you're playing through an amplifier, you get a difference tone, which is created by the sound of the two notes together. Higher frequency minus lower frequency gives you a note that is below both of those two notes, and that is a big part of this electric sound. And the other thing is that if you are playing amplified with a microphone like this extremely delightful HB52, is that of course a lot of the sound comes from how you enclose it, and not simply from the fact that you are sending this signal through this microphone. It's a matter that you're holding it in front of the mic with quite a big gap, enclosing it with your hands, so that you really have a large chamber between, I don't know if I can get this in front of the camera so you can see it, here it is, that there's a large space in my hand here, which is creating a resonance chamber, an adjustable damping chamber, and that is what makes a big part of the sound. Because you can create hand effects like that. And so this is a big part of playing amplified, is not simply what is your rig, because harmonica players, like guitar players, tend to be gearheads and tend to be fixated on equipment. But equipment is only as good as, you know, what you do with it. And so if you're going to get expensive gear and play it, then you really want to be looking at working on your hand technique, how you hold. Because if you just hold one of these mics like this, where you're basically touching the microphone with the harmonica and sort of holding it like this, you're not really going to be able to get a rich, powerful tone like David was playing before, because you're not creating the situation which will allow that tone to come into being. And I think that's important to bear in mind. Is there anything that any of our other panelists would like to say about amplified playing? Because I mean, Markos and Marko both are also, Joe, all great amplified players. Is there anything that we've left out that would be pertinent? Don't be shy. Marko.
Basically, everything is said. It's just, I want to emphasize that, in my opinion, it's really 90% or even more the player, and the smaller part is the gear. And a good player with awareness of his techniques and how to shape the sounds can even sound fantastic with a not well prepared, customized, whatever toolkit. He can adjust his playing or catch out the sound of a weaker cheap combo or whatever. So it's really about the player. Focus on your playing, on your techniques, on the control of the instrument, and then experiment with different microphone and amplifier amplifiers, it's also fun to actually sometimes the cheapest combinations can surprise you with their character, and
Yeah.
just work on your playing and on your musicality and your awareness of how you can influence sound, and that's the key for me.
Yeah, we've just had a question come in from Miguel. Do portable guitar amps work for harmonica too? I'm not so sure about that. In the end, as Marko's just said, you can play through anything really, because gear is definitely secondary. I'm sure you can play through a pig nose or some amplifiers like this, these little transistorized amplifiers. And if you can play, they'll probably sound all right, but they're never really going to sound particularly great. And I think that they still contribute much less to the overall sound than the tone of the player and how you enclose the microphone. Because if you enclose the mic properly with your hands, then the worst microphone will get a better tone and a good one will sound great. David.
Sorry, just a quick tip for everybody out there. When you set up your amplifier, turn up the amplifier a lot louder than you may feel comfortable with. You want to give yourself more dynamic range. So turn up the amplifier, get that amplifier cooking so it's got that nice distorted sound, and learn how to play softly. So you can imagine if you just turn up the amplifier loud enough so that you can be heard, then you're going to be pushing to get that greater dynamic range. But if you pump it up even more, when you listen to Little Walter's recordings, you can hear that his amplifier is quite loud, and he's playing kind of at a normal idle volume, if you want to call it that, around 40%. Because he'll be playing and all of a sudden, he'll just like jump out of the recording with this lick that he plays. So for greater dynamic range, and also when it comes time for you to solo, you'll want to turn that amp way up and then play as softly as you can as your soft volume, then a little bit more for your kind of normal volume, and then kick it into overdrive when it comes to the solo. And then if you are a gigging musician, make sure when they say, Steve Baker, can I hear your harmonica? Make sure that you don't play at solo volume, because they're trying to find a balance of you and the other instruments. So turn up your amp to feedback, pull it back so you don't get any feedback when you walk around stage. When they call you for your sound check and you play harmonica, play at your lower accompaniment volume so that when they average your sound with the other musicians and you're playing at your 40% volume, you know that that's going to be your accompaniment level, and then you have great dynamic range for your solos, and you won't have troubles hearing yourself when you're soloing.
This is what we call taking back control in England, you know. That's the way to do it. Have some headroom, and then you can use it. But don't be too loud when you're accompanying, because this is the danger. If you have that capability, because everyone likes how they sound, and everyone tends to turn up louder than perhaps they ought to. We've probably all done it. Okay, we're gonna move on to our final musical contribution. This has been a real pleasure to do, and thank you all for being here. We're gonna close off the musical part of the evening with Joe Filikso and Eric Noden. Take it away, gentlemen.
All right.
Chevrolet. Well, I'm on the move and I'm making my way down south. Well, I'm on
my way, and I'm doing it hand to mouth. Play that thing, man. Way up north. I'm on the move and I'm making my way up north. Well, I'll be there soon, arrive round near the 4th. On the move and I'm making my way out east. I'm making my way out east. It may seem hard, not even in the least. Oh yeah, tell me about it, man. Tracks, so little time to rest. On the move, 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 Lord, Lord. Yeah! That was a crossover in B flat, and then the other harmonica was a low F.
All right. Well, it's so good to see everybody again, and it's really, really fantastic to be a part of this. And we did want to let everyone know that next week we are actually doing a big free show. We're calling it the Concert for the People, and all you have to do is sign up, and you can come check it out. That'll be next Thursday at 12:30 Chicago time, or I believe 18:30, I think, in Europe.
You got the link in there. I want to definitely thank Professor Baker for having us at this event, and a special thanks to Enos and Gerhardt for being behind the scenes and seeing that things go smoothly. Thank you so much. It would definitely be a nightmare to try to do this ourselves and not have some professional folks like yourself smoothing things out. Thank you very much.
You're right.
There are a million and one things to know. There are thousands of places to go. There are things, dear, that I'd rather do. But all of my time is for you. Time is for you. Time is for you. Hours mean nothing. My time is for you. Time is for you. Time is for you. Daytime and nighttime, my time is for you. There are friends that I'd like to be near. There are those who bring me good cheer. There's some who are just passing through. But all my time is for you. Time is for you. Time is for you. Hours mean nothing. My time is for you. Time is for you. Time is for you. Daytime and nighttime. My time is for you. Yeah. Work that has got to be done. There is play that I know would be fun. There's leisure with nothing to do. But all of my time is for you. Time is for you. Time is for you. Hours mean nothing. My time is for you. Time is for you. Time is for you. Daytime and nighttime, my time is for you. Time is for you. Time is for you. Hours mean nothing, my time is for you. Time is for you. Time is for you. Daytime and nighttime, my time is for you.
Thank you, boys.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Filikso and Eric Noden, I'd like to thank all of our team of instructors. We intend to be back for you in this lineup at the next live Harmonica Masters Workshops in Trossingen, Germany, which will be taking place from the 15th to the 19th of June 2022. And before that, assuming that the gods permit and COVID permits, we will be meeting also in Trossingen for the World Harmonica Festival from the 2nd or maybe the 3rd to the 7th of November 2021. You can find info about this on the HONA website and of course on the World Harmonica Festival and Harmonica Masters websites. I'd like to go through all of our team and thank everyone individually. Markos Coll, Andres Nassar, thank you very much, guys. That's wonderful. Joe Filikso and Eric Noden, 1,000 thanks. Marko Jovanovic, David Barrett, Joel Andersson, and of course the team from Hohner, Ines Weber and Gerhard Müller, the Hohner product management team, trying to make harmonicas better for all of us. And also thanks to Christian Dean for allowing us to have this little bit of fun. Especially big thanks to all of you for coming and spending your Saturday afternoon or evening with us. It's been great having you there. And I hope to see you in the flesh again soon. Thanks everyone, take care, and until next time.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Ciao, Bella.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, thank you all.
Thank you, Steve.